Joe Burrow getting loose for the Cincinnati Bengals. They take on the Tennessee Titans. His nickname should be like Joey Swag. I feel like that should be his nickname.
That fits him. He also just goes by like Burr, right? Like
that works too, actually. Does that make him like Cardi B's favorite quarterback? Justin Fields, he's out there tossing the football around, but don't expect to see him on the field against the New York Jets, dealing with that shoulder injury, and not expected to play for the Bears today, so they'll have to figure out something else offensively. They're going to beat New York. Welcome to NFL Fantasy Game Day, presented by Geico. I am Marcus Grant, joined by Michael F. Florio, and we had games on Thursday. Maybe it's because we didn't have to work on Thursday. It feels like it's been forever since we've actually sat down and watched the football game.
Oh, yeah. I looked at my matchups today, and I was like, oh, wait, yeah, there was already 3 games this week. Like, that feels like it was last week.
There was so much that happened on Thursday. We talked about that in case you did not watch the Fantasy Q&A show on Friday. You should. You can go back and check it out. It's on YouTube, the whole 9 deal. You can send us your questions about today's games on Twitter at NFL Fantasy. We'll do what we can to answer as many of them as we can here. But the rest of them go to Aaron Tan because he doesn't eat peas. So if you just learn to eat a green vegetable, you can get off of it. It's week 12, man. Like, figure it out. The answer is so simple. You can get away from answering questions. In the meantime, we're here to help out as many of you as we can. We'll start by taking a look at some of the early game injuries to monitor. As we mentioned at the top, Justin Fields is out because of that shoulder injury. Leonard Fournette inactive because of his hip issue. Gus Edwards, Devin Duvernay, they are both active for the Baltimore Ravens. Jamar Chase going to miss another game because of his hip injury. He is inactive this week. Isaiah Likely also inactive because of an ankle injury. Logan Thomas will be playing for the Commanders despite a couple of issues there. But go back to that Bears and Jets game, and it looks like it's going to be a battle of the backups. Trevor Siemian getting the start for Chicago. It'll be Mike White who gets the start for the Jets. Mike Garafolo filed this report from the Meadowlands.
We've got the battle of the backup quarterbacks here at MetLife Stadium. So how does it affect the guys around them? Let's start with the Bears. Now, they did expect all week long that Justin Fields would not be the guy, so they're planning more of a traditional approach, going to lean on David Montgomery out of the backfield if they can, and play more toward Trevor Siemian's strength. So perhaps some of these targets on the Bears side will benefit, although we know that Justin Fields' Cole Kmet connection has been strong. As for the Jets, I do know that there has been frustration with the wide receivers, and you could just look and watch the games and see it because of how Zach Wilson is missing guys or maybe not making the right reads. Now, Robert Saleh, the Jets head coach, did tell me that the reads that Wilson was making were fine, but with Mike White, they know they're going to be spot on. They know the ball is going to come out quickly. So perhaps this is the day where we really see the production from the Jets wide receivers, and I know that the wide receivers and all the targets are hoping that that's the case.
Thanks, Mike. So obviously with Trevor Siemian there, we're not starting him, but when you look around the rest of this Bears offense, how are they going to be impacted not having Justin Fields?
I think greatly. I mean, Justin Fields has been this Bears offense. Not only is he, their leading passer every week, he's their leading runner as well, and he is so dynamic right now. I would say of all the dual threat quarterbacks, he's the biggest threat to run right now in the NFL, and without him, obviously the run game is going to be completely different. I think we get a lot more just straight up touches for David Montgomery as the Bears are going to continue to try to establish the run. And then the passing game, we don't really have a lot of answers there because we don't know who Trevor Siemian has that chemistry with. I'm going to get away from Darnell Mooney, who's going to probably get Sauce Gardner a lot today. I think the only Bears pass catcher I would start is Cole Kmet.
Would you start David Montgomery?
Yes, yeah, because I just think a lot of volume is going to go his way.
Matchup's not particularly great, but I think volume sort of wins the day for Montgomery there. News for the Arizona Cardinals. Marquise Brown has been activated from injured reserve, and so we'll see where and when he gets back on the field. But this is big for an Arizona offense. They have not had all their pieces yet. Either they were missing DeAndre Hopkins and had Brown. Nuke comes back. Hollywood is out. So this suddenly looks like all systems go for Arizona. I know you're starting these guys when they're on the field, but how much better does this make Kyler Murray?
I think it raises Kyler Murray's floor and ceiling because DeAndre Hopkins has been amazing, but the one area where the Cardinals have lacked as of late has been that downfield threat. that field stretcher. They brought in Robbie Anderson to try to play that role. That hasn't worked out, but Marquise Brown, that's why they brought him in here, because they want D-Hop to be that X and opposite of him, the field stretcher in Marquise Brown.
Robbie Anderson has been a ghost since he got to Arizona. I sometimes literally forget that he's on the roster. That's how little they are using him in the offense. It is time now for Waiver Wire, presented by KFC. Here's a look at some of the notable players available in 50% or more of NFL.com leagues. Rachaad White, who's in a big situation now with no Leonard Fournette. Samaje Perine will get the start likely for the Cincinnati Bengals with no Joe Mixon. He's in concussion protocol. Latavius Murray is there against the Panthers. Isaiah Pacheco getting work with CEH on injured reserve. Paris Campbell in a big smash spot potentially against the Steelers. Josh Palmer should get targets with no Mike Williams. Donovan Peoples-Jones going against the Bucks. And Juwan Johnson, who's become a staple at tight end, going against the San Francisco 49ers. So that gets us to our waiver wire hero. And for you, who's the free agent who could make waves this week?
I think Donovan Peoples-Jones needs more attention. This guy's been playing really well as of late. In fact, since week 4 coming into this week, he's the only player to have at least 7 games with 50 or more receiving yards. He's topped 11 fantasy points in 5 straight games, and he is second on the team in end zone targets. So I think in a game where they may have to throw to keep up with Brady, well, I don't know if they'll have to throw a whole bunch, but whenever they do throw, we know DPJ is going to be involved. And then I think he's just someone you want on your roster moving forward because he's set to get a quarterback upgrade next week.
Very curious to see how this passing game changes once Deshaun Watson steps on the field. We will find out soon. I like Latavius Murray this week going against the Carolina Panthers. Been saying all week, Mel go is Mel gone. Chase Edmonds is not in the picture for the next few weeks as he nurses an injury. So this is essentially Latavius Murray's backfield. I know maybe there's a chance Marlon Mack steps in and gets opportunity, but I don't see that being a big threat right away for Murray, and the matchup very good against a bad Panthers run defense. Even with a Broncos offense that struggles to score points, I think volume is going to be key, and there's still that touchdown upside when they get down near the end zone for Murray. Time now for 15 for 15, presented by Geico. We'll get our must-start quarterbacks of the week. And Florio, who's on the list?
Joey Swagg's at the top of the list there. Tua Tagovailoa, just to remind everyone, he's a must-start quarterback each week. Geno Smith in a great matchup against the Raiders. Justin Herbert, who I like a lot this week against the Cardinals. And then down at the bottom, Lamar Jackson. And, you know, at the start of the year, Lamar was too obvious to even include on this board, let alone focus in on. But he has been struggling this season. Really since week 3, he hasn't looked like the Lamar that we are used to seeing. But I think this is a get-right spot for him. The Jaguars have allowed the 3rd most fantasy points to quarterbacks in the last month, which includes allowing 27 or more fantasy points 3 times to a quarterback in their last 5 games. And they've allowed a top 10 fantasy quarterback in 4 of their last 5 games as well. They also struggle against the run. This just feels like a game where Lamar Jackson's going to remind everyone who he is.
Love to see that big blow-up Lamar Jackson game. Speaking of guys who can run, let's get to the must-start running backs of the week. Jeff Wilson Jr. in a huge smash spot, especially with no Raheem Mostert. We got Rachaad White, as I mentioned, no Leonard Fournette there. Kenneth Walker III against the Raiders. James Conner against a bad Charger run defense. But let's focus in on the bottom of the screen there with Michael Carter going against the Bears. And look, Carter has been just okay for the most part, but this feels like a big glow-up opportunity for Carter. He first has a good matchup against a Bears run defense that has struggled all year long. Plus, the quarterback change could mean a lot for Carter. Last year, when he was playing, Mike White threw the ball to running backs nearly 35% of the time. So I expect a lot of short throws, a lot of safe throws. That could mean a lot of targets for Michael Carter. You know, James Robinson is a healthy scratch for the Jets, so this very much could mean a whole lot of work for Carter on Sunday. Over to the must-start wide receivers. Take us through your list here.
DK Metcalf, again, because Raiders. Terry McLaurin, because even Taylor Heineke's like, hey, I'm just going to throw the ball downfield. Terry's down there somewhere, and it's a great matchup. Michael Pittman Jr. in a really strong matchup on Monday night. Christian Kirk, who's been better than everyone anticipated. And then Keenan Allen against the Cardinals. Welcome back to our fantasy lives. He returned last week. He was playing the 3rd wide receiver role for the Chargers, but he still saw a decent amount of volume, caught a downfield near 50-yard catch at the end of the game when they really needed it. And now, being another week back, I expect to see him out there even more. With no Mike Williams, he could be the go-to guy for Justin Herbert in a great matchup against the Cardinals, who allow a ton of production to opposing offenses, wide receivers included.
So we're over now to the tight ends. It's getting harder and harder to find must-start tight ends every week. We'll go with Gerald Everett going against the Cardinals because death taxes and the Cardinals giving up points to tight ends. David Njoku, who I think becomes a big part of that passing game. Last week, still kind of splitting snaps. Hopefully this week a little healthier, gets more opportunity. Hayden Hurst, like him, against the Titans secondary. I think Noah Fant has a good opportunity against the Raiders. And then down at the bottom, you might be surprised, but Trey McBride, I think, has a really good opportunity. The Chargers have struggled against the tight end position, and even though he didn't get a ton of action against the 49ers in Mexico City, we did see him on the field a lot, running a lot of routes, and I think that is key, especially when you look at the Chargers trying to lock down on Nuke Hopkins and those wide receivers on the outside. I think this is going to give a safe target for Kyler Murray, somebody who can just get open, make some plays in the middle of the field. So I'm only advocating this in sort of deeper leagues here. Don't just go starting Trey McBride over, another regular starting tight end, but I think he does have a good opportunity today against Los Angeles. So normally you guys ask us the questions on Twitter, but we like to ask you a question every once in a while, and so that gets us to our poll question for the week. Which running back will have the best fantasy performance today? Will it be Rachaad White? Will it be Samaje Perine, Latavius Murray, or Isaiah Pacheco? Some guys that are probably coming off the waiver wire, or at least off the bench in a lot of leagues. Which one do you like the most?
These are all four good answers, but I'm going to go with Rachaad White there. I just love the matchup the most.
I think I'm going to go Rachaad White here. I think, again, just the Browns' run defense being bad, no Leonard Fournette, so that's going to be that. We have breaking news, though. Nathan Peterman is going to be the starting quarterback today. Yeah.
What?
Confusion from Mike Florio. We had Nathan Peterman on the field. So apparently, Trevor Siemian hurt his oblique in warm-ups, so he is not going to be starting for the Chicago Bears. It's going to instead be Nathan Peterman.
Bills legend.
Bills legend, the QB1 formerly for the Buffalo Bills, now starting for the Chicago Bears. Adjust your lineups accordingly? I don't know. Does this make a big difference in what you were going to do with the Bears?
I'd say just David Montgomery or bust now for the Bears. Maybe Cole Kmet because he's a tight end and you don't have better options out there. But, man, I mean, Nate Peterman is just famous for throwing interceptions.
That's pretty much it, which he did in Los Angeles against the Chargers. Trevor Lawrence, well, we know he's starting. Everything seems to be okay with T-Law. Got the locks flowing and everything, the cap on backwards. He's looking comfortable, ready to go in a big one against the Baltimore Ravens. And Mike White starting in place of Zach Wilson. His backup, Joe Flacco, kind of lurking in the background. Back for more on Fantasy Game Day. Ryan Tannehill getting loose for the Tennessee Titans, a playoff rematch against the Cincinnati Bengals. You know, the Ryan Tannehill played wide receiver at Texas A&M has not quite reached the Ryan Fitzpatrick went to Harvard levels of repetition on television broadcasts. And Mark Andrews, still waiting for the big post-injury Mark Andrews game, but you're not starting Mark Andrews because he's Mark Andrews. We'll see what he and his Ravens teammates have in store for today against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Welcome back to NFL Fantasy Game Day presented by Geico. I am Marcus, he is Michael, and big game on Sunday Night Football between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Green Bay Packers. We'll get to that in just a little bit, but let's get to some of your questions that you sent us at NFL Fantasy. Answer a few of them right here. This one from Alex. Need a win to stay in the mix for playoffs, projected to win by 10 points. Who do I flex? Dameon Pierce, Latavius Murray, or Rachaad White?
This is a humble brag right here. I've been on Dameon Pierce all week, but I actually think Rachaad White is looking more appealing right now with Leonard Fournette not playing today. I think I would take the shot there against Cleveland with White.
I would actually go with Rachaad White, too. I mean, I liked Leonard Fournette before he was ruled out for this one. I think Rachaad White's in a huge blow-up spot against the bad Browns run defense. But, you know, all three of those guys, I think, have some value this week. Next question from Josh. Chris Godwin or Christian Watson in PPR, or Metcalf or Christian Watson in a non-PPR?
I'm going to go with Watson in the first one. I think the upside is higher than Chris Godwin. Godwin has shown to be a safe floor type of play so far this season. And then I'm going with DK Metcalf over Christian Watson. I love the matchup for Metcalf this year. I think he might find the end zone a couple times.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with both of those there. I think DK Metcalf against the Raiders in a smash spot there. I love all of the Seahawks offensive players, Geno, Ken Walker, the whole nine there. So, as I mentioned, it is the Eagles and the Packers on Sunday Night Football. Green Bay looking to kind of bounce back. The Eagles looking to stay hot. James Palmer is on the scene in Philadelphia, and this is what he had to say.
We saw our first game of how this Eagles offense operates without one of the best tight ends in all of football, Dallas Goedert, who's on IR, and after today will still miss 2 more games. We saw more designed runs out of Jalen Hurts. That's an aspect of this offense they can lean on, specifically the rushing attack against a Packers defense that the Eagles, I'm told, believe is very thin up front on their defensive line, and they feel like they can wear that group out as the day goes on. Also, look for them to be operating out of 3 wide receiver sets more frequently than they did in the past. We saw it in the second half against the Colts last week, and that's where you have to keep your eye on Quez Watkins. He was their big threat, deep speedster type receiver, but didn't get a lot of targets. Only 19 on the season heading into this game, but now they've increased his role, and look for him to find more targets and explosive plays with Goddard out through these next few games.
Thank you, James. That gets us to Who Scores, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Taking a deeper look at this Packers-Eagles game. We'll start with Jalen Hurts, who's been phenomenal pretty much all year long. Now, DraftKings projects him to have 225.5 passing yards in this, or just, passing yards in this one. So where do you have him ranked for today?
I have him just down a little bit at 220 passing yards. I think this will be a game, like James said, where they are going to look to rely on the run a lot. But he, even on limited throws, I think he'll be highly efficient. 2 passing touchdowns there, and then this number, we have to go much higher. 22 fantasy points. Why? Because he's Jalen Hurts, and he's awesome, and this is what Jalen Hurts does. But like I said, even if he is limited throwing the ball, I think he'll be highly efficient against this very banged-up Packers defense. And then after they jump out to a lead, I'm anticipating that the Eagles will just rely on their run game. And we normally with the quarterback, we're like, all right, well, he doesn't get points for that. Well, Jalen Hurts is the the Eagles run game here as well. So I still think a big day is in store for Jalen Hurts, the MVP candidate in this game, not the one that many people probably thought.
Right, not the one we thought coming into the season. I also like Miles Sanders in this game, too, against that Green Bay run defense. Though on the other side, for Aaron Rodgers, DraftKings has him projected at 223.5 passing yards. I am not quite as optimistic as DraftKings is. We're going to bump him down to, we're going to be very specific, at 211 with 1 touchdown, and we're going to leave it right here at 10.5 fantasy points for Aaron Rodgers. It's just not a good matchup. The Eagles allowing less than 180 passing yards per game. And yes, Rodgers has had some decent fantasy games in the last couple of weeks, but the yardage numbers have still been down. I just don't see a big passing day for him. Now, certainly he can get the ball out, and maybe Christian Watson can do some things, but I don't love the Packer passing game as a whole. If they stay in it, it's maybe because they're able to grind it out on the ground, but even that doesn't seem all that optimistic. So if you can get away from Aaron Rodgers, which at this point in the season, you've probably figured out a way to work around Aaron Rodgers, I would probably try doing that again on Sunday night. Get in on the hottest sports action for your shot at cold hard cash with DraftKings Sportsbook. Bet on your favorite sports all season long and gear up for football season. Right now, new customers can get a special offer when they sign up using promo code WHOSCORES. Time for a break, and here's your new Bears starting quarterback, Nathan Peterman. Trevor Siemian injured during warm-up, so Peterman gets the call. We'll dive into a little bit more about that and some other things on the other side of the break. Stick around for more NFL Fantasy Game Day. There's the Pharaoh. We haven't used that in a couple of weeks. Tom Brady getting loose for the Buccaneers. Coming off the bye, they got a game in Cleveland against the Browns. Tampa's not spectacular, but still doing enough to possibly win the NFC South. And Lamar Jackson. We're still waiting for a big, huge kind of Lamar Jackson game. It's been a while since we've had one. We'll see if that happens today against the Jacksonville Jaguars down in Duval. I'd love to see it.
Oh, it's coming.
It's coming. Welcome back to NFL Fantasy Game Day, presented by Geico. I am Marcus. He is Michael. And, well, you might have heard before the break, Nathan Peterman is now starting for the Chicago Bears. Trevor Siemian was injured during warm-ups. And we also got word during the break that David Montgomery is the emergency quarterback for the Bears.
Just another reason to start Montgomery, I guess.
There you go. So maybe you can get a pass from David Montgomery or something. But in terms of the pass catchers you're starting, you said you were getting away from Darnell Mooney. I assume you're getting away from Cole Kmet. I don't imagine any of this changes with Nathan Peterman at quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, we were already lower on those guys without Justin Fields. Now we're going to the third string quarterback here. And again, the Jets defense, while I know they're on this run of like incredible luck getting backup quarterbacks after backup quarterback, but the Jets defense is still one of the very best in the league, especially that secondary. So just makes you even more so want to get away from Mooney, Claypool, and the other pass catchers.
Honestly, Luke Getsy, just go for it. Just run the Wildcat with Montgomery all day. Like, let's just cut out the middleman. Let's just get to the fun part and let Montgomery have like 50 touches.
If there's ever a game to get weird and just try new things, it's today.
Absolutely.
Make it happen.
Let's just get weird. Speaking of weird, we're going to go to Twitter, because that's a weird place. We're going to get some of your social questions. This one from Ed, who says, start two, sit two. How about we just do the start two and you can figure out the sit from there? Jeff Wilson, Samaje Perine, Miles Sanders, and Chris Olave.
So Jeff Wilson's the automatic slam dunk start. For me, the other three are all super close. I think I slightly lean Miles Sanders just because I can see the Eagles playing with the lead there. But to me, those three are all very similar.
Wilson is an absolute, and I'm going to go Sanders too because the Packer run defense hasn't been very good. I don't know that the Eagles are going to throw the ball super effectively this week, but I think they run it well, so I like Sanders. This one from Edwin, who wants to know Tyler Boyd with Chase out or Allen Lazard?
Give me Tyler Boyd. It's just a way better matchup. Lazard gets the Eagles secondary, and he's not the big play threat like a Watson, so he doesn't even bring that upside.
Yeah, all day for me, it's Tyler Boyd. I just don't like Lazard. I don't like the Packer passing game against the Eagles today. Back to look at some of the late game injuries to monitor. Mark Ingram, questionable for the Saints with a knee issue. Josh Jacobs, who popped up on the injury report late in the week, he's questionable with a calf issue. Greg Dortch is out. He injured his thumb against the 49ers. Allen Robinson, unlikely to play for the Rams because of an ankle issue. And Tyler Higbee, looking like he's on the wrong side of questionable with a knee issue. The Rams pretty much playing their JV squad. Let's take a look at the early game injuries to monitor. Justin Fields, we know, is out. We can also let's just parentheses, Trevor Siemian also out. Leonard Fournette inactive. Gus Edwards and Devin Duvernay both active for the Ravens. Jamar Chase, we know, not playing for the Bengals. Isaiah likely out. Well, because he's actually out because of the ankle issue. And Logan Thomas expected to be active for the Commanders. Now, we got that game between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Tennessee Titans. That one, a rematch of the playoffs from last year. I know Mike Vrabel saying it's not a revenge game, but, you know, we like to say the whole time.
Just a little bit of salt there.
Just a little bit of salt there, right? It's like a little bit of Salt Bay there for Mike Vrabel. Mike Giardi, who is not salty at all, at least we hope not, he's there on the scene, and he let us know about what's going on.
A lot of good options today if you're looking for fantasy football one-day guys, or if you have them on your roster. Start with the outside receivers. T. Higgins coming off a monster game last week, and once again with Jamar Chase not expected to play, he's Joe Burrow's favorite target. But he also likes to go to Tyler Boyd as well. Boyd's had 10 or more targets in every single game this year. For the Titans, a big game for rookie Treylon Burks last week against the Green Bay Packers. They got some explosive plays that their passing game has sorely been lacking. Ryan Tannehill probably wants to go there again, so keep an eye on him. And finally, Samaje Perine, 3 touchdowns last week. Joe Mixon's out of the game. He's going to get plenty of touches again for the Bengals.
Thanks, Mike. Perine, an interesting one here, because I know we've gotten a lot of questions about him all during the week. The opportunity seems great. The matchup seems bad. How are you handling Perine if you have him in any lineups?
So the way I'm kind of treating him is how I kind of treated him off of the waiver wire as well. Like, if I had options that I feel good with already in my lineup, I'm just going to continue to ride out there. But if I've been streaming, or maybe I'm dealing with a banged up running back, something like that, then I think that's a great spot to get Samaje Perine in. I understand it's a tough matchup against the Titans, but he is going to get a bunch of volume. He's going to be used in the passing game, and we know he'll be the goal line back as well.
Right. I think if you've got your full complement of running backs, I'd probably stay away from Perine this week. But look, if you say you lost a Leonard Fournette, or you lost a Raheem Mostert, somebody that you were kind of counting on and you need to fill a spot, then I think Perine is a good option there, just because strictly the volume. But again, the matchup, not particularly great. I think if the Bengals win, they do that through the air today. Time for burning questions. We do this every week. 3 questions that can help you maybe set a better lineup for fantasy this week. The first one, with the Jets, what does Zach Wilson's benching mean going forward for this Jets offense?
I think the biggest takeaway is with Mike White starting, the running backs are more in play here. Last year, like Marcus said earlier, over 30% of the passes went to running backs. Michael Carter averaged nearly 20 fantasy points per game. But what I think this means is Garrett Wilson we know he is a very good receiver at the NFL level. He just needs someone who could consistently and quickly get him the ball. I think it helps Garrett Wilson. I even think it makes Elijah Moore back in play as a sleeper because Mike White threw a bunch to the slot last year. Him and Elijah Moore really had good chemistry. Moore had his best stretch of the season when Mike White was the starter. So maybe check your waiver wire tonight. I'm not saying pick him up and get him in your lineup everywhere, but I think if you have a bench spot, worth taking a flyer just in case he hits.
I have seen a couple of places where there's some buzz about Elijah Moore this week. I know you liked him as a sleeper. I know some other people like him just because last year, as you mentioned, he was a lot better with Mike White than he was with Zach Wilson. But right now, I'm still not super excited. I get it if you want to start Garrett Wilson if you're in a deeper league just because he is the more dynamic of their pass-catching options. But this, at least today, feels like a big Michael Carter game for the Jets offense. Speaking of the Bears, which version of Cole Kmet will we see? The sands are shifting by the minute. It seems like in the Bears offense, we went from Justin Fields to Trevor Siemian to Nathan Peterman. It seems like in a matter of like an hour or so. So how do we feel about Cole Kmet as things currently stand?
Not great. I originally was feeling good about Cole Kmet with Justin Fields. I thought, in fact, he was the one Bears pass catcher I was confident starting because the Jets secondary is so good at taking away receivers. I thought it would mean even more volume for Kmet. But then you take Justin Fields out and you're like, all right, I feel okay here with Trevor Siemian. Then he's out and now it's Nathan Peterman, and I'm just saying avoid the pass catchers if you can. Like in a spot where I was going to start Kmet, I was lucky enough to have David Njoku as a fallback option. That's an easy decision for me now.
I've had a couple of people ask me, is it Njoku or Kmet? Unfortunately for those folks, I didn't get back to them until this morning. And now that we know that it's Nathan Peterman, that's an easy pivot to David Njoku. Last burning question here. Can fantasy managers feel comfortable starting Tom Brady? The Pharaoh has not ruled with an iron fantasy fist this year. Do we trust him against the Browns secondary that, hasn't been terrible, hasn't been great? How do we feel about Brady?
Brady is kind of a low-end QB1, high-end QB2, so I would say it depends on your options. Like, hopefully if you have like him or Dak, you play Dak. I would play like Geno Smith over him still. But like, let's say you lost to Justin Fields, or maybe you have like a duo of him and Rodgers or something like that. Like, I definitely see a lot of scenarios where you still can play Tom Brady, but I do agree. I think he's very much so in that, like, he's on the brink of being like a guy that you start or that you see.
I feel like at this point in the season, if you are still in playoff contention and you have Tom Brady on your roster, it's because you've learned how to navigate around him at this point. So I think at that point, you look at this and you probably have another option, and that might be a better choice for you than starting Tom Brady. He has been meh at best so far this season, so I don't know that I'm in love with starting Tom Brady if I have some other places that I can go with my lineup at the quarterback spot this week. Let's get over to Fantasy Insurance presented by Geico. These are the moves that can make or break a lineup, aka sleepers. So for you, who's a sleeper in Week 12?
Gus Edwards, because we've seen Gus Edwards play all of one full healthy game this year, and when he did, he balled out. He had 2 touchdowns. He scored nearly 19. Looking good out there. And the reason I'm feeling confident about Gus Edwards is because Kenyon Drake has been so up and down this year. I think the Ravens are just searching for a consistent option in that backfield, and when healthy, that is what Gus Edwards provides. And again, you see it's raining there. It's a team, again, the Jaguars, that have struggled against stopping the run all year. I think Lamar and Gus Edwards probably run all over Jacksonville today.
While watching that, I had kind of a look on my face because I had to plug Christian Kirk into a lineup. And now, not that excited about that. I am excited, however, about Rachaad White. And I liked him as a sleeper even before Leonard Fournette was ruled out because I felt like he was going to get some opportunities. But now with no Fournette, it is going to be the Rachaad White show for Tampa Bay. And the Browns have been awful defensively against the run this season. Now, I don't know if White is going to have the pass-catching upside that we see from league winner Lenny, but either way, he's going to get plenty of touches. I think he's got a very good matchup. We have seen that he can be explosive when they need him to be. So, again, he was a guy that I would have put into some deeper league lineups as a flex even before the Fournette issue. But now that there's no Leonard Fournette, I am all systems go with Rachaad White. Speaking of the Browns, Nick Chubb, who's always a must start. I think somebody asked us, like, did they start Chubb? And, like, they had a couple of other, like, you know,
Like
wide
Isaiah
receivers,
Pacheco.
right, or something like that. It was like, no, man, you're starting Nick Chubb. Always start Nick Chubb. Hashtag always start Nick Chubb.
Is he dancing or stretching there?
Both? Yes. And Michael Carter, who I think is in a very good situation in what could be a low-scoring game between the Jets and the Bears. We got flex starts. That's coming up after the break on NFL Fantasy Game Day. Joe Burrow, the winner of the 2019 Heisman Trophy Award. He and his Bengals teammates getting ready to take on the Tennessee Titans. Both teams still jockeying for playoff position. On the other side, another Heisman Trophy winner from back in 2015, Derrick Henry, El Tractorcito himself. We'll see if he can plow his way through the Bengals' run defense in a rematch of the playoffs last year. We'll see if there's another Heisman Trophy winner who plays his home games in Los Angeles. We'll see if that's happening the next couple of weeks. The poll question for today, which running back will have the best fantasy performance today? And right now, Rachaad White sort of running away with this one. Not really a surprise, I don't think.
No, yeah, with Lenny being out, he's going to run away with it.
This seems like a good call against the Cleveland Browns, I should say, today. Welcome back to NFL Fantasy Game Day, presented by Geico. He is Mike, I am Marcus. You can keep sending us your questions on Twitter at NFL Fantasy, and we'll get to a couple of them right here. See if we can help you out with your lineups ahead of kickoff. We'll This one from Scott. Gotta sit one of these. Debo, Godwin, or Jeff Wilson. I don't think it's Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, Jeff Wilson is it's surprising to say with these names, he's the slam dunk start. I would play Debo over Godwin. Godwin is shown to be more of a safe floor play than he is an upside.
Yeah, I just like Debo. Right now, that Niner offense is getting hot, and everybody has a chance to go off in any moment, so I go with Debo there. Steve Souza wants to know who to start, Harris Campbell or Donovan Peoples-Jones. I'm currently in first, but they're on my tail. Help me. Okay, you're just bragging right now, Steve.
Is this Steve Souza, the old baseball player? I'm going to go with Paris Campbell there. I like both of these two options a lot, but I had to make this decision in a league of my own, and I am playing Campbell over DPJ.
Steve, do you work in accounting by any chance? I'm wondering. Yes, so those are some questions. Again, you can send us some more. We'll try to get to some more if we can before the end of the show. We saw plenty of weather down in Jacksonville between the Ravens and the Jaguars. Now, Cam Wolfe is down there. Hopefully, he is staying dry because his fits are always on fire. So we'll see what Cam's wearing and also hear what Cam has to say.
The Ravens have good injury news, starting with running back Gus Edwards. Missed the last 2 games with hamstring and knee injuries. He will have a significant role in the Ravens' backfield today. I talked to receiver Demarcus Robinson, who just laughed when I asked him about Gus. He said he's looked great in practice and expect him to have a big part of the Ravens' game plan today. Robinson also will be a big part of the Ravens' game plan. He had a season-high 9 catches for 128 yards last week. The Ravens are searching for someone to step in that #1 receiver role after Rashad Bateman's injury, and they hope that Robinson can continue to duplicate some of his production so far. And keep an eye on Deshaun Jackson. He hopes to play his first full game with Lamar Jackson and maybe a few deep balls down the field. Quickly on the other side of the ball, Christian Kirk is coming off a great game for the Jags, and he told me this week that he and Trevor Lawrence have been getting a lot of chemistry and trust with one another. Maybe another opportunity for him to have a big day against a Ravens defense that's been one of the best in the league over the last 4 weeks.
Thanks, Cam. Obviously, that was pre-taped because that light-colored suit probably does not hold up very well in the rain. But here's a tweet from him recently. Lightning in the area in Jacksonville. They cleared the stands and field as Ravens-Jaguars were finishing warm-ups about 10 minutes ago. No game delay as of now, so everything's still on track to get started right on time. But let's talk a little bit about that game. He mentioned Demarcus Robinson, who had the big blow-up game last week. If you're in a deeper league, if you're needing wide receiver help, would you give Robinson a go, knowing that the Ravens need somebody not named Mark Andrews to throw the football to?
I think so, especially more of a deeper league guy, not like a 10-team league type of play. But Robinson is coming off of a huge game. 2 weeks prior to that, too, he was their best receiver for the Ravens, and the game in the middle was a little disappointing. I believe he got banged up in that game. But Demarcus Robinson is definitely a deeper league player worth throwing a dart on today.
So Demarcus Robinson possibly in play. It was interesting to hear the name Deshaun Jackson pop up again. That is maybe the Hail Mary play if you were really needing a wide receiver somewhere in your lineups. Let's get over to flex starts. Those guys that can go in that little flexible spot at the bottom of your starting lineup. And for you, who are we flexing on today?
Just spoke about him. Paris Campbell is in play for me, and I'm starting him everywhere that I have him. You look at his last 4 games with Matt Ryan, he's averaging over 18 fantasy points per game with at least 11 in all of those. So he brings a safe floor, a high ceiling. What I like is they quickly get him the ball as like an extension of the run game. But in the last couple of games, they've also started mixing up some deep shots with him. He's getting used in the red zone and in the end zone. And this is a good matchup against the Steelers, who allow a ton of production to wide receivers. But if TJ Watt's able to get pressure on Matt Ryan, look for Paris Campbell to get a bunch of quick, short targets.
Love Campbell this week. Love Michael Pittman as well in a big spot against the Steelers secondary. Also like Antonio Gibson as a flex option this week. He is kind of slowly taking the lead in Washington in that backfield. There's no clear-cut RB1 there, but Gibson's the closest thing they have to one. Like him because he's catching the football as well. With J.D. McKissick on injured reserve, he has taken over a lot of that passing game work for the Commanders out of the backfield, but also running the football effectively, and just a good matchup against the Falcons. So Antonio Gibson, a flex play this week. Also, sort of like Brian Robinson potentially as a sleeper in this offense today, too, against Atlanta. But we still have plenty to do on this show. Ryan Tannehill hoping to get plenty done today against the Cincinnati Bengals. How do you feel about those powder blue Tennessee jerseys? I kind of like them.
I like him.
I like them. With the dark blue helmets, I think it's a good look. Besides, I'd like to see the white pants. I think that might be a better look. And Lamar Jackson. We know he doesn't like the cold. We'll see how he feels about the rain, because it looks like he's got plenty of it to deal with there in Jacksonville. We got Sunday Fun Day coming up after the break on NFL Fantasy Game Day. Mike Evans, who I feel like we take for granted in fantasy. It's like, oh hum, Mike Evans, he's gonna have 1,000 yards, blah, blah, blah. Life moves on. We'll see if he can put up a big number today against that Cleveland Browns secondary. I don't know how I feel about the Bucs passing game in this one today. And wow, through the rain, the rain and the fog and all that down there in Jacksonville, Trevor Lawrence getting loose. Doesn't look like it's very cold though. A lot of guys in the short sleeves, so it's just wet. Maybe not so much cold.
Marvin Jones pulling that jersey up.
There it is. 15 minutes to Geico, or to kickoff, presented by Geico. Last look at the early game injuries to monitor. We know Justin Fields is out. So is Trevor Siemian. So Nathan Peterman getting the start for the Bears. No Leonard Fournette for the Buccaneers, but Gus Edwards, Devin Duvernay to play through the rain down there in Jacksonville for the Ravens. Jamar Chase, a no-go for the Bengals. Same with Isaiah Likely for Baltimore. Logan Thomas is suiting up and playing for the Washington Commanders. Back here on NFL Fantasy Game Day, presented by Geico. I'm Marcus Grant. He is Michael F. Florio, and you can still send us your questions right up until kickoff on Twitter at NFL Fantasy. We'll get to a couple more of them right here. This one from Crom. Good morning, PPR Flex, Brandon Ayuk or Latavius Murray? Much appreciated.
I'm going to go with Latavius Murray of the two. Look, Ayuk had a good game last week, and Adam Rank was giving me a tough time about it after because I was a little
Wait, Rank giving you a tough time about something?
I never heard of. But Ayuk, 2 touchdowns is great, but he still had just 2 catches for 20 yards.
I'm going to go with Murray as well. I'd liked him as a sleeper all week. And we appreciate your politeness there, Crom. It was very nice of you. Trust the process. You don't have to yell at us about it. David Montgomery or James Robinson for my flex? Well, it feels like this decision's sort of made for you, right?
Yeah, Robinson was a surprise healthy scratch. So, and David Montgomery is not only a running back, he's an emergency quarterback.
He's the emergency quarterback today. So you could get him your running one, maybe he catches one, maybe he even throws you a touchdown today. So David Montgomery, the easy answer for that one. All right, it's time for Sunday Fun Day. All right. We have horns? I don't know, we haven't heard horns. Anyway, Sunday Fun Day, as we wrap up the show, we are going to do some of the superlatives that we expect from right on cue. Let's start with today's top scorer. Who will that be?
Tyreek Hill. Why? Because he's Tyreek Hill. I mean, he is one of the best. I think he is the best wide receiver in the NFL today. And he gets the Texans, who have really struggled against the running game, which usually doesn't help a receiver, but sometimes they get the ball out so quickly to Tyreek Hill that he can just kind of operate as a running back. Plus, I mean, we know that he can win downfield. We know that after the catch, he can just make everyone else look extremely slow. I expect a bounce-back game from Tyreek Hill.
Not that Tua's playing badly, but it has to be sort of nice to know, hey, man, let me just get the ball in this dude's hands.
Yeah.
He'll do a lot of the work for me. I like Kenneth Walker this week against the Las Vegas Raiders. One, because Kenneth Walker has been playing very well this year, ever since Rashad Penny went down with an injury. And two, Raiders, defensively, they just have not been good. I expect to see the Seahawks playing with a lead in this one, so that also means that Walker can just grind clock, get a bunch of carries, close this one out. But either way, I wouldn't be surprised if you see Walker pop a couple of big runs in this ball game. Over to our must-start QBs for the week. Who do you like at that position?
The man who ended Eli Manning's start streak, Geno Smith, because Geno Smith has been playing really good football this year. Right now, he has 19 or more fantasy points in 3 straight games, multiple passing touchdowns in 4. Both of those are the longest streaks of his career. He has more multiple passing. 8 of his 10 games this year, he's thrown multiple passing touchdowns in. That's more than he had in his entire career heading into 2022. Plus, Raiders, they give up a bunch of production through the air, so I expect Geno Smith to have another strong game today.
I love that we had a metaphorical funeral for Eli Manning's career, and then like the very next week he was starting again after one bad Geno game. My must-start quarterback this week is Justin Herbert. Unfortunately for me, in one league, I had Justin Fields, had to put him on the bench, and I could pivot and go back to Justin Herbert, who it was nice to see him get some of his weapons back. I know no Mike Williams, but still there's Keenan Allen. We saw Josh Palmer have a big game last week, and it's just a good matchup against the Arizona Cardinals. This has the makings of a really high-scoring contest, so I like Justin Herbert to spread the football around, get all of his pass catchers involved, put up a lot of points, and have a good fantasy day for a lot of you out there. Must-start running back this week. Who is on the list?
Jeff Wilson Jr., and this felt maybe a tad bit more like an actual take before Raheem Mostert was ruled out. Now he's as must-start can be because Houston Texans, they allow the most fantasy points to running backs on the year and in the last month. Both are by a wide margin. They allow the most rushing yards. They allow the most rushing yards on inside carries, the second most on outside carries. Any way you want to slice it, they struggle against the running back position. And Jeff Wilson Jr. had come in and been the lead running back, taking over for Raheem Mostert, but with Mostert out, Wilson could be looking at like 20 touches this week, maybe even more.
Yeah, this is definitely much more of a conversation a couple of days ago when we were filling out the homework doc. Now it's pretty much a slam dunk that Jeff Wilson's going to be in there. I also think James Conner is a must-start. Did I say that the Chargers and Cardinals had the look of a high-scoring game? Because it does. Throw in the fact that the Charger run defense has been pretty awful. James Conner is dominating the snaps. He's played about 80% of the backfield snaps over the last few weeks. No real threats to getting touches unless you really think Keontae Ingram is that dude, but I have yet to see that. So James Conner is going to get plenty of opportunity, plenty of touches, has a very good matchup, and should be in your fantasy lineup this week. Must start wide receiver, and it's the guy he's down there somewhere, right?
When your quarterback is selling shirts that say expletive Terry's open somewhere down there, you probably want to start this guy in fantasy football because that's exactly the shirt that Taylor Heineke is selling right now about Terry McLaurin. Since Taylor Heineke has taken over, Terry is 3rd in the NFL in target share. He leads them in air yard share. They're just literally throwing YOLO balls every week his way, and I don't blame him because more often than not, he comes down with them. Then you add in that the Falcons have greatly struggled against receivers both all year and especially as of late. They're in the top 2 in fantasy points allowed to the position. Terry McLaurin, if you don't play him this week, why is he on your roster?
Why is he on your roster? I'm going to say something similar for Michael Pittman Jr. because we always talk about how wide receivers in fantasy can have a good day even if their quarterback isn't, and that's sort of been the case for Pittman this year. Having Matt Ryan at quarterback, it hasn't been great for fantasy, at least if you're starting Ryan, but it's been okay for Michael Pittman. The same sort of applies to Paris Campbell, but we've been picking on the Steelers secondary all year long. Pittman is always on the field. He's always getting targets. He's always making plays. It's a fairly narrowly funneled passing game there, so Pittman should be in your starting lineup, at least as a wide receiver too this week against the Steelers. Over to the must-start tight end, which I feel like if your tight end is healthy and suited up, he's probably a must-start. But if we're picking one, who are we picking?
We're going to go with Pat Freiermuth because what's the saying?
The Muth is Luth?
There we go. I don't think if you ask a lot of people who leads the Steelers in receiving yards, I think you'll get people guessing Pickens and Deontay Johnson, but it's Pat Freiermuth this season. And not only that, in the last month, he leads them in target share, air yard share. He's just getting a whole bunch of volume. He is the guy that Kenny Pickett clearly has the most trust in right now. And then he also, not only that, he has 9 targets of 20 or more air yards, which is second at the tight end position. So not only does he bring a safe floor because of the volume, but he brings a high ceiling because of the type of targets that he's getting as well.
So Freiermuth is in play, as is David Njoku. And last week, I know we said he was a start and he didn't really do much for fantasy, but also you wonder if he was just sort of working his way back from injury. Harrison Bryant still got a lot of the snaps, but early in the year, it was Njoku dominating those tight end snaps, and I think we're going to start to get back to that. And even then, most of the targets were funneled between Amari Cooper and Njoku. I think we get back to that again. So even if the matchup isn't really great on paper against the Buccaneers, I think the opportunity grows for Njoku. And again, if you have a tight end and he is upright and walking and able to wear pads and a helmet this week, then he probably should be in your lineup because that's kind of what tight end is. Must-start defense for the week. Which stop unit are you starting?
The Pittsburgh Steelers, because Colts, they allow the most sacks, they allow the most fantasy points to opposing defenses. They're up there with interceptions and fumbles as well. And with TJ Watt back, this is a different Steelers lineup. So I would definitely be starting them against the Colts.
I'm going to start the 49ers. I don't think I need to say a whole lot. The Niner defense has been great, whether it's Bosa up front, whether it's Fred Warner in the middle, or Talanoa Hufanga in the back end. They have been a playmaking unit, and they have the Saints, who have turned the ball over as much as any team in the league. So the 49ers, not just a start, a must-start defense for you this week. Bold predictions for Week 12. Let's get crazy. What do you got?
DK Metcalf scores not 1, not 2, but 3 touchdowns today. I almost was going to give him 4 to just match a season total, but that seemed a little too bold. DK Metcalf leads the NFL in end zone targets this year, and he's facing the defense that allowed the highest pass rating in the red zone. Just feels like 2 good things happening for DK Metcalf.
We seem to love the Seahawks offense today because I'm telling you that Kenneth Walker is going to go for at least 150 rushing yards. So, sorry, Raider fans, we don't seem to like what's going to happen to your defense today. Kenneth Walker's been great all year long. The Raider run defense has been bad. So start Kenneth Walker. Now, I've been told we have some breaking news. This is from Mike Garafolo. Bears Media Relations tells reporters in the press box it's a game-time decision now on the starting quarterback between Trevor Siemian and Nathan Peterman. As game-time decisions go, this is the game-timiest ever. So basically, we just have to wait for the Bears to break the huddle and see who the guy is that comes off the sidelines to start.
Just go Wildcat. Let David Montgomery be the quarterback. That's probably not even to like,
not even a joke. No, seriously.
Like that might be your best chance of winning.
Just go Wildcat, man. Direct snaps to David Montgomery all day long. Let that be the answer. But I guess we're all going to find out together who starts a quarterback for the Bears. We appreciate you watching. Enjoy Week 12, everybody. This is NFL Fantasy Game Day presented by Geico. Have a wonderful Sunday.
Burrow protected, gets hit a bit. Higgins, what a catch! Wow, touchdown Cincinnati as he took it away from Greedy Williams.
Tannehill is in the pistol. Hands. Henry throws. Touchdown Titans!
Mills is there. Mills scrambling. Eyes downfield. Throws, and it is caught for the touchdown by Chris Moore.
Fake to Wilson. Tagovailoa. And caught for the touchdown, Waddle. And there he goes with the dance. And there he goes with his 6th touchdown reception of the year.
Wilson looking for Jalen Virgil. Wide open. And he's gone. First NFL catch is a touchdown.
Walker on first down, moving to his left. And now Walker fires downfield, looking for DJ Moore. In the end zone. It's a diving catch for a Panthers touchdown.
He'll throw to the end zone. He's got a wide open man and a touchdown to Darnell Mooney. On 3rd and 8, they throw for a 16-yard strike from Fields to Mooney.
2nd and 17. Allen has time. Intercepted. Sauce Gardner's got it. And the Jets are in business inside the Buffalo 20.
Cordero Patterson has a seam. Patterson splits it. Goodbye. Cordero Patterson, the 9th time in his NFL career. A house call on a kick.
Quick snap, handoff. Curtis Samuel is in for a Washington Commander touchdown. Creative run play that seemed to have the Texan defense fooled.
Brady with time to the end zone to Evans, holds on. Great catch for the touchdown. A pass here, Brissett looking deep to the end zone. Got a man down there and it's caught. Cooper with the touchdown.
Jackson surveys, under pressure. Throws, and it's in the back of the end zone. Hold in there by Likely.
Lawrence to the end zone, and Kirk holds on for the touchdown. That's the guy right there. Fake to Jacobs. Carr loads up. Adams is open. Walk-off touchdown. A sweep of the Broncos for Las Vegas.
Gino steps up, looks to the far side. Now he throws to the end zone. Touchdown, Seahawks. Herbert going deep. Downfield for Joshua Palmer. Got it. Touchdown, Chargers.
Here's Connor. Cuts to the outside. Already has a touchdown today. He dives, and he's in.
It's Kamara with room to roam. Here he goes. He breaks the tackle coming in from Harmon and scores for the 3rd time today.
To McCaffrey, and he's going to throw downfield wide open. Brandon Ayuk. Touchdown! San Francisco!
Walford to the end zone. It is caught for a touchdown by Van Jefferson for John Wolford. That's the first touchdown pass of his NFL career.
Kelsey alone on the right. Coming across to the left. On the run, Kelsey! Kelsey, touchdown!
Hubbard. Shotgun on 2nd and 10. Burrow to throw it once again. Step up and run. Burrow's got the first down. A slide out near midfield. They're going to mark him down at the 49. Savvy play from Joe Cool, Joe Burrow.
And Joe Burrow sees this the entire way, because watch when he gets to the top of his drop. The blitz comes, he sees it open, and now he sees nothing but territory with a blocker, a potential blocker at Hurst downfield, and he takes off, finds the open space.
Donovan Knight into the game at running back. Takes the fake. White feeds it to him. Knight down the sideline. Bam! Knight on his first touch of the season goes for 17 yards.
Just some really good stuff here. You've got C.J. Uzomah, the tight end. Kind of looks like it's going to be an outside zone play. There he is, downfield, getting the block on Jalen Johnson, coming up in support. Again, every time you can get your running back in a...
Chris Wessling podcast studio. It's Around the NFL.
A win like this changes everything that we should think about the Vikings.
Some zaddy energy from Mike McCarthy all season long.
Zach Wilson got rid of the ball so quickly against Buffalo. He was so disciplined. That's the new suit, though, right? That's the NFL-provided suit. It's a first, and it's a big step in our
Here's the problem.
Status at this company.
Same state of Ohio. Now Kareem Hunt tosses it back. This is Schwartz. Brissett leading the way, and Schwartz is in for a Browns touchdown. 31 yards, and for the 6th time this season, an opening drive TD for Cleveland.
And that is how you draw it up, Kenny. You have these guys running, right? These linebackers, they're all super fast. They go, and they're flowing. All of a sudden, you come right back around with Anthony Schwartz. He gets the reverse, and look at that block by Jacoby Brissett on Antoine Winfield. It's coming right in your face, guys. Bam! Okay.